Hello heroes! Welcome to the event today. We're excited to have you here and we know that you're excited to play. To make sure everyone has a great time, we're going to walk through the mechanics of the set together and make sure that you know how the event is going to run. Aether Revolt is the second set in the Kaladesh block, and it features many new and returning mechanics. Although we won't take time to go over each returning mechanic in detail, you can see some of them here next to me. And feel free to ask questions to our staff, judges, and players. Our community is awesome and we love to help each other out. So, as you come across particular cards that you need clarification on, please just ask. Now let's take a moment to talk about some of the new mechanics that you're going to see featured in Aether Revolt. The first new mechanic of Aether Revolt is a keyword called Revolt. Cards with this keyword activate an ability if a permanent has left the battlefield this turn. This could be any permanent leaving for any reason, but here's a quick example. Let's say you sacrifice a Renegade map to search your library for a basic land, and then play a Countless Gears Renegade. Countless Gears Renegade has an ability with Revolt, which reads, when Countless Gears Renegade enters the battlefield, if a permanent you control left the battlefield this turn, create a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. The Renegade sees that his map left the battlefield before he entered, and so he brings a 1/1 servo with him. You could also get the servo if your opponent had destroyed one of your permanents, or if an ability had returned one to your hand. Don't forget that Revolt doesn't care if the permanent came back somehow, so you can take advantage of cards like Aether Geode Miner to activate Revolt abilities. The next new mechanic is an ability called Improvise. Improvise lets you use artifacts to pay for spells, and can help you put untapped artifacts to use to cast expensive spells. Improvise says that each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1 generic mana. A great example of this is Sweatworks Brawler, a 4-mana creature with Improvise. Let's say you have a copy of Aegis Automaton and a copy of Implement of Combustion on the battlefield, and you want to cast your Sweatworks Brawler. You could tap 4 lands to pay the cost, or you could tap 2 lands, including something that produces red, and your 2 artifacts, leaving your extra lands untapped and ready to cast another spell. The more artifacts you have available, the bigger of a spell you can cast, and cards like Whir of Invention will help you use all of your untapped artifacts as if the game were giving you free mana. The final common theme you'll see in Aether Revolt isn't so much a mechanic as it is a reminder of how cards work. As you build your deck, you may see a number of cards which care about the converted mana cost of a card. One example is Rishkar's Expertise, which reads, draw cards equal to the greatest power among creatures you control. You may cast a card with converted mana cost 5 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Remember, converted mana cost, or CMC, is the total amount of mana it would take to cast the spell regardless of type. So, if you look in the upper right hand corner of the card and count the number of mana symbols and add the number inside the generic mana bubble if the card has one, you determine what this CMC is. If you see a card with an X in the cost, it's considered to be 0, so don't try to release the gremlins unless you're casting the card normally. Those are the mechanics and themes from Aether Revolt. Don't worry if we went too fast. Our judges, staff, and community are all here to help answer any questions about particular cards or even interactions between other mechanics. Now, it's almost time to hand out the new cards, but before we go, let's just take a moment to walk through how the event's going to work today. In just a moment, you'll receive a pre-release kit all wrapped up and ready to go. After we give you the okay to open it, you'll find 4 packs of Aether Revolt, 2 packs of Kaladesh, and a promotional card, all of which you'll use to build your deck. You'll also find a spin-down life counter and a deck building insert to help you play, as well as a sticker to bling out your favorite deck box after the event. Your job is to build a 40-card deck from the cards you receive and a smattering of basic lands. Don't worry, you didn't forget them. You'll be able to find basic lands that we've provided in our Paragon City Games land stations scattered throughout the floor at the ends of our tables. I know most of you have participated in a limited event like this or a draft a million times, but just in case you haven't, here are a couple of quick tips to help you build a better deck this evening. First, most sealed decks want to play somewhere between 22 and 25 spells, including 14 to 18 creatures and 4 to 8 non-creature spells, such as instants, sorceries, enchantments, and planeswalkers. You also want to play somewhere between 16 and 18 lands, depending on how aggressive your deck is, and you want to stay as close to that 40 card minimum as possible, so that you're always able to draw the card that you want to see when you want to see it. If you're having trouble eliminating what cards you want to play, I recommend using a simple acronym, BRUNA, to help you break down what you should be putting in your deck. First, bombs, meaning cards that end the game quickly or pressure your opponent into making bad decisions. Second, removal, which are cards that help to deal with your opponent's threats. Third are untouchable cards, meaning cards that are difficult to deal with or that have abilities that get around other effects, such as hexproof, trample, or death touch. Next, near fit cards, meaning cards that are either synergistic with your deck or help you to get to those bombs and removal to make sure that you can end the game. Finally, adjustment cards, meaning mana fixers such as 2-colored lands or artifacts that help you to fix your mana, as well as cards that fill in key gaps in your mana curve. You want to make sure you always have enough 2-drops and 3-drops to make it happen, and those adjustment cards are where it works out. Finally, if you're nervous at all about tonight, don't worry. For most players here, this is the first time they're seeing the cards as well, and our community is a great help to make sure that you can play at your very best. So, ask questions, turn to our staff or our judges or the community players around you, and we'll make sure that you have an excellent time. Thank you so much for being here. We're super excited to play these new cards side by side with you, and before I go, make sure to remember the most important rule of Magic is to have fun. From all of us here at Paragon City Games, good luck and have a great time.